I've always been of the mindset that when it comes to DS emulation, the best handheld you can buy for that is a DS. Specifically a DS Lite, or even a 3DS. Well, that idea may be challenged now because within the past few months we got the MagicX Zero 40, which I have here thanks to Ampone. Thank you, Ampone, for sending this out for review. So I've been testing this thing out for several weeks, and honestly, it's better than I expected. And for under $100, this thing is an impressive little handheld. It's available in black or white. Obviously, I have the white model here. It's got a 4-inch IPS 480 by 800 display, and it is actually a touchscreen, so that's going to make this great for DS games. It's got an all-winner Cortex A53 CPU, an IMG PowerVR GE8300 GPU, 2GB of DDR4 RAM. It's got a 4300 mAh battery, which should get you around 5 to 7 hours of playtime. It also supports Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.2. And underneath all of that, this is actually an Android handheld. Now, don't expect to be scrolling through Instagram on this thing like you can other Android handhelds like ones from Retroid and Anbernic, but the fact that this has Android under the hood makes the user experience altogether pretty solid when it comes to playing DS games. When I first saw this thing, I totally thought it kind of looked a little bit like a spaceship. I'm not absolutely in love with the design, but it does work for what it is. And for basically being just a flat slab, it is pretty comfortable. You've got your D-pad, thumbstick, and your home and back buttons on the left, face button and start and select on the right, stereo front-facing speakers. You've got 4 shoulder buttons, an OTG USB-C port, a charging USB-C port, and a headphone jack at the top. Volume rocker on the left side, power button, and 2 SD card slots on the right side. Nothing on the bottom, and you've got a heat vent on the back. I was surprised to find 2 SD card slots on this thing, considering this is an Android handheld. I've never seen an Android handheld that has 2 SD card slots. One is for the OS, and you can put games on it as well, or if you want, you can do one with the OS and one with your games. This one comes with 1 SD card that has the OS and the games. The reason the 2 SD card slots is surprising is because I've never seen an Android handheld that has the OS on an SD card instead of just baked into the hardware of the device. I think the coolest thing about this handheld is if you're the type of person who just wants to buy something and play it out of the box and it is set up well, ready to go, this is actually great for that, especially if you're looking to play specifically DS games or even vertical arcade games. The SD card that this one comes with is from Kioxia, which is a fairly reputable brand. This is actually owned by Toshiba, and from what I've read online and in my own personal experience, this card should be pretty reliable for a good while. That means you can just buy this thing and use it and not really have to worry about doing anything with it. If it's got the games you want to play on it, you'll be able to enjoy it. And there is a good chance this thing does have the games you want to play because this one came absolutely loaded. We're talking over 1,400 DS games and over 500 arcade games. Now, if you do want to play any other systems other than those two, this did not come with any games from any other systems. This is going to be specifically tailored to DS and arcade. Now, it may be an Android handheld, but you're not going to be playing GameCube or PS2 on here. This can go up to N64 and PSP from what I'm seeing on the website. So if for whatever reason this is going to be your only handheld or your primary handheld, and you do want to play other systems other than DS, you can do that on here. It may just be a little bit awkward with the screen layout. It is perfectly capable of playing games from other systems. It just did not come with any, and I am going to be specifically showcasing games that came with this one that I got from Ampone. So to be clear, every game that you're going to be seeing me play on screen came with this device. I did not add anything onto the SD card. This is exactly how I received it out of the box. Now again, it does run Android under the hood, but the main launcher you're going to be dealing with is called Dawn Launcher, which seems to be sort of a custom version of Daigisho from what I can tell. It looks and operates very similarly to Daigisho, which is a very popular emulation launcher on other Android devices. And really, you've just got the two platforms, DS and arcade. But the way this thing is set up out of the box, you really don't need to do anything to this. Unless you want to add any games that maybe are missing from this library, then knock yourself out. But really, it's just set up so nicely that personally I'm going to leave this as is. There's correct titles, no duplicate games that I can find. They really seem to go out of their way to set this one up out of the box, and it's one of the best stock experiences I've had on a retro handheld. There's also a couple of great features built right in out of the box. For DS games at least, if you use a save state, leave the game and then come back, it'll actually launch you right back in from where you left off using your save state. And there's even a game switcher, which will let you quickly look between different games you've played recently and launch right back into them from where you left off. You do have to enable the game switcher in the settings, but at least it's there and it works quite well. Within Dawn Launcher, there are are settings you can go into. You can go into the Android system and do various tinkering. For CPU performance, you've got your options between power saving, balance, and performance. By default, it is set to balance. I imagine you may need to go to performance, maybe if you're playing stuff like PSP or Dreamcast. I haven't tested either of those systems on here, so I really couldn't tell you. The good news is every DS game that I've tested on here has run perfectly fine in balance mode. I've never had to change the CPU performance. Now, DS games are going to run with Drastic, and arcade games are going to run with RetroArch. And out of the box, they both have screen overlays that are perfectly set up for both systems. DS games have this little overlay to cover the gap between the two screens, while the arcade games have the little MAME logo on the bottom. The only issue I've run into is there are a couple arcade games that do take up more space than the overlay allows, so they will get cut off at the bottom of the screen unless you turn off that overlay. I have noticed the size of the screen area for each screen on DS games is actually smaller than the screens on my DS Lite. I'd say that the screen areas are actually comparable in size to the GKD Pixel 2, which has a 2.4-inch screen, so these are going to be tiny, but still usable in my opinion. One issue I have run into is it feels like there could be maybe some input lag or something, which I only really noticed when I started playing Rhythm Heaven, which is one of my favorite DS games. Here I am playing Rhythm Heaven on the 040 and honestly doing quite terribly. The flicks are working, but I just can't seem to get the timing right. At first I thought, it's been a while since I played this game, maybe I just suck all of a sudden. But then I decided to play the same game on the DS, and I was nailing it. So I think there is something going on with the screen here. I don't know if this is actually an input lag issue. It could be the different types of screens because touchscreens on smartphones and devices like this use capacitive touch, whereas DS and 3DS systems use a different type of touchscreen technology, which the name escapes me, but it just works differently than what we're used to on stuff like smartphones. By the way, if you're wondering, no, a DS stylus is not going to work with the screen here because of the difference in touchscreen technology. If you really want a stylus for this thing, you're going to have to look online for a stylus that'll work with smartphones. So for games like rhythm games or anything where you may need fast, precise reactions like maybe WarioWare, you may run into some difficulties with games like that. I'd say in this case, original hardware wins out. But for the most part, playing DS games on this thing has been great. I've been jumping into games that I'm already familiar with and love, and thanks to all the games that are loaded on this thing, I've even been able to test out games I've never played before that I found to be quite nice. And really that's just one side of the coin here. The vertical arcade games are a lot of fun as well. I'm terrible when it comes to shoot 'em ups, but I have no problems loading this thing up and just messing around with a bunch of different ones. Whether I'm good at them or not, they are just a lot of fun and simple to jump in and out of. Even though the arcade game selection is absolutely dominated with shoot 'em ups, there are other types of games that you can play on there, and it has been pretty neat to experience some of them. There are so many of them that it's a lot to go through and test out. But honestly, if you just pick one of these up and you just dive in and look at the different games that are available, you might find some classics that you've played and love, or you might find a new game to fall in love with. The D-pad and face buttons don't really stand out as amazing or bad at all. They don't make me go wow, but they don't make me go shucks either, so I guess that's good. There is also a thumbstick. It's a pretty nice thumbstick. It's very Nintendo Switch style. It's recessed into the system so it's not going to break off in your bag or anything like that. I didn't really use it at all because I only played the DS games and arcade games that came with this thing, and D-pad worked just fine for those. I mean, the original DS didn't even have a thumbstick, so I just used a D-pad. There is a built-in gamepad tester in the settings, and from what I tested around in there, the thumbstick is smooth and calibrated well, so I think if anything, if you're going to play some thumbstick games on here, you're gonna have a nice time. I'd say my one biggest complaint about this handheld is I just don't love how it feels in hand. Now don't get me wrong, it is a comfortable device, especially for just being a slab. The rounded corners on all the edges make it very easy to hold. But I feel like I just cannot personally get as good a grip on it as I want to. Don't take that out of context. For most people, this is probably not even going to be an issue, but for me personally, I kind of wish they almost went for more of like a 2DS kind of wedge shape. Do you remember the 2DS? I totally forget about the 2DS sometimes. That thing is kind of hideous, but it's also probably one of the more comfortable handhelds that I've used in my years of using handhelds. I kind of wish I still had one to mess around with. I've had like 2 or 3 of them over the course. I've gone through so many DSs and 2DSs and 3DSs over the course of my life. It's not even funny. Now, obviously, they don't have to go for that shape, but I just feel like that may have been just a little bit easier to grip and not so slippery. You would be sacrificing portability, but this thing is also not exactly portable. I mean, just like look at the size of this thing. It's not exactly something you're going to be throwing in your pocket. But that's really just a nitpick. That's really just a preference thing that most people may not even agree with. And you know what? That's totally fine. Battery life has been great. I'd say that 5 to 7 hours of playtime is accurate. And the nice thing with this being an Android device device is I can just press the power button and put it to sleep when I'm in the middle of a game. Then I can just press that button again and load right back into the game that I'm playing. And you know what? Decent battery life is always nice. You know what else is nice? You are, for making it this far into the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have made it this far into the video, I truly appreciate it. If you're new, make sure you're subscribed. I've got other handheld videos in the works. Make sure you like this video, leave a comment telling me why you liked it. If you don't like the video, dislike it and tell me why you didn't like it, but just be nice about it. Constructive criticism is nice. Being a douche is just something else entirely. Thank you again to Ampone for sending this out for a review. Again, I will have an affiliate link in the description, possibly even a coupon code, so make sure you check that out. In the meantime, you can watch another video, which I'll have here on the screen, and that is going to do it for me. But, you know, what does it for you? As, you know, I'm going to stop right there and just stop talking. All right, bye.